welcome back to my channel. Today, we're going to be talking about a new Disney Plus release, Black Beauty. Before we begin, let me know in the comments if you were looking forward to this or what your thoughts are if you've seen it already, and make sure to give this a thumbs up if you like these reviews. It helps me out immensely if you do that. Also, if you're new here and you like movies, whether it be blockbusters, hidden gems, or everything in between, please consider hitting that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with reviews of new releases and some classics. But now, let's jump right into it. This stars Kate Winslet as the voice of Black Beauty, a horse who, after the death of her mother, gets sold to a farm run by a man named John, played by Iain Glen. When John's niece Jo, played by Mackenzie Foy, moves to the farm, the young girl and the horse form a bond, one that spans for a lifetime. This is based on the children's novel of the same name by Anna Sewell and is the 6th adaptation of the novel. I haven't seen any of the previous adaptations, though from what I can tell, it seems like some were okay and some weren't. The most known version appears to be a 1994 adaptation that got some fairly positive reviews. Now, Disney Plus's releases this year have been a mix of films that were originally meant to be in theaters and instead switched to streaming because of the pandemic, as well as films that were always meant to go to Disney Plus right from the start. This falls into the latter category, and it's kind of easy to see why. It reminded me a bit of the Steven Spielberg movie War Horse, which also followed the horse over the course of many years and the bonds it formed. But this took that sort of general idea and gives it more of a Lifetime Hallmark sort of feel. While it's a very well-intentioned film that chronicles this friendship, its execution feels incredibly cheesy, melodramatic, and at times boring. Nearly every scene will have this overly sentimental score to it, and the dialogue is kind of bad, as it tries to explain every little detail to you. Like, there's a moment towards the beginning when Jo first arrives on the farm, and with her parents having recently passed away, she's bitter towards her uncle, and at one point she goes to him, "I'm only here because the state says I have to be here instead of my own home." Now that's something that both of them would clearly know, and it's said in such an obvious way that they're not even hiding the fact that they're essentially talking directly to the audience with that one. A lot of the dialogue tends to be very on the nose and cliche, and what doesn't help is it's filled with so much narration from Kate Winslet as the horse that will tell you how you're supposed to feel at every waking moment. Like, it's established when the horse arrives at the farm that she's not really accepting of people because of her history with them. But we're told this not even 10 minutes into the movie, and there was never a scene before it where we really saw the horse having some sort of bad relationship with a person, and that would have been nice to see. It feels more like we're getting a lecture rather than being shown a high-stakes, emotionally compelling story. Now, I like Kate Winslet. I think she usually brings a lot to a movie, but this feels borderline phoned in. It's not totally flat or monotone, but she brought the bare minimum amount of emotion required for the role. There will be some dramatic pauses where they need to be, emphasis on some key words, and that's it. Which is a shame because it wastes such a great actress, and honestly, I don't really blame her for only trying so much. It feels like a thankless role. And it's also frustrating because the movie leans hard into this narration to serve as character development for the horse. If we were to remove her voiceover, this horse would be a pretty bland character, which is bad considering it's about the friendship between the horse and the girl. Now, I mean, I know you can only do so much with a horse expressing emotion, but when I look at other films that focus on the friendship between a human and an animal, the animal's usually trained in a way so that its movements feel like it's connecting with the person, whether it be in the way it looks at someone, or maybe it'll stay close to them. But here, they really didn't train this horse to do anything too out of the ordinary, with some exceptions in a few scenes. Like at one point, it's being defiant towards someone and openly refuses to move. But for the most part, it felt like it was given very basic instructions to just move in this spot, or look this way. It felt just like any other horse and not really a character, if that makes sense. However, I do think the acting besides this was pretty alright, and the performances made these characters a lot more interesting than they actually were, because these characters aren't exactly well written, to be honest. Mackenzie Foy is by far the highlight here. She did seem like she was really trying and gave a fairly generic character a likable energy. And Iain Glen was also not bad, and he's always great to see, especially because I enjoyed him from Game of Thrones, though he also has this cartoonish cowboy accent that I found kinda unintentionally funny at times. Like, it felt like he was trying to act in a western from the 1950s or something, and the way he sounded was so silly that it made me laugh, to be honest. But that aside, after a shaky beginning, the first half of this film, which takes place mainly on Iain Glen's farm, is fairly serviceable, mainly because of the performances. As I said, the acting makes you care about these characters somewhat, even if the story's so-so. However, without getting into spoilers, the second half of the film moves the action away from the farm, and we get introduced to some new characters about an hour in that felt really boring, and the setting will bounce around a bit to a few different places. And once we got into that second half, it unfortunately never really did much to establish an emotional connection. It peaks pretty much while the horse is still on that initial farm setting. And after that, it felt like it was pretty much in cruise control for the rest of the film. Even the way it ended, it didn't feel satisfying. I won't spoil it, but it felt more like it stopped rather than feeling like the story concluded. It ends up really just being a basic, bare bones sort of film. But Even with all its faults, it's also harmless. Not much about it really stood out, but it also didn't do anything particularly egregious. And because of said harmless nature and its performances, I can see it being something that younger kids can enjoy. But if you're out of that age group, unfortunately, there's not much to really like there. This is yet another generic film released on Disney+. It's a movie that explains everything to you, hits a lot of familiar beats, and doesn't really have any unique characters. Its strengths lie more in its performances, and it's the acting from Mackenzie Foy and Iain Glen in particular that makes the first half fairly decent before going into autopilot mode for the second half. Kids may enjoy it because it's harmless enough, but older audiences can easily skip this one. Black Beauty gets a 5.5 out of 10. I gotta say, the majority of Disney's live action stuff lately has been very disappointing, between the live action remakes of animated movies and then a lot of these straight to Disney Plus movies. There have been some exceptions. Timmy Failure from the beginning of the year was nice, and I absolutely loved Clouds. But beyond that, a lot of it's been either alright or just bad. And I'm not counting the Marvel movies or whatever holdovers from Fox there were. I'm talking about movies specifically labeled under the Walt Disney Pictures banner, the ones that are purposely marketed as Disney movies. The animated stuff's still very good for the most part, but I'm really hoping that this isn't what we're in for with these live action movies moving forward, because this has been pretty bad. But let me know, did you see Black Beauty or are you planning to see it, and what were your thoughts? Did you like the performances? Did you enjoy the story? And what's your favorite movie with Kate Winslet? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and share it, and for more movie reviews and film discussion, please make sure to hit that subscribe button to stay updated. Thanks for watching everyone, and I'll catch you next time.